All right, our next question is from Alli on vitamin D lights. Hi, Robb and Nicki. I've been a follower of yours for years and considered myself paleo, but I would pick and choose. This past May, I decided to buy in 100% and I purchased your Keto Masterclass, which changed my life. I've lost 40 pounds, but more important is that for the first time in my life, I am in control of my food. Life-changing.
Pretty cool.
And now that I'm on a roll, I'm trying to implement more positive life-changing choices. My question relates to vitamin D synthesis in the cold Connecticut fall and winter. I'm trying to get outside as much as possible, but exposing skin just isn't feasible. I know that sunlight is preferable to supplementing, but how about those happy lights? Do they work? Will a $40 one work, or do I need the expensive one? Could you recommend one? If they don't work, what dosage of vitamin D should I aim for from a supplement? Thank you.
And I think when we answered this last time, I tackled the supplement first. I would recommend some sort of a ADK supplement like Carlson's. They have some great drops. Vitamin D causes the body to retain calcium. Vitamin K2 tells the body where to put it. You don't want to retain a bunch of calcium and have it end up in your vascular bed. Like that's bad. So if you're going to supplement, that's a good way to go. And the amounts really vary. Like some people do like 10,000 or 20,000 IU dose every like 20 days or something. Some people dose daily. I would just recommend getting a baseline blood value. Yeah. And then kind of dosing appropriate to that. When we recorded this one the first time that morning, tanning bed.
That study that you
Bill Lagakos posted it. And if you guys don't follow Bill Lagakos, he's an amazing guy. He has a Patreon account. I would check him out. His stuff is so on point, super legit, really in the circadian biology, ketogenic diet scene. Like he's really on point. So I can't recommend Bill's stuff enough. But he did a breakdown of a study that was really interesting. They put about 20 people through a tanning bed experience, and they did a crossover, which was really interesting. One group of people got exposed to bright light that had UV in it that would produce vitamin D and all the like kind of opioid release associated with light exposure. And the other one was bright light but no UV. And then they would cross folks over so that they would kind of figure out, okay, here's my experience of A, here's my experience of B. 95% of the people
then they got to choose to go again.
Then they got to choose and 95% of the people chose
the one with UV.
The one with the UV, which was interesting. The 5% of the people that didn't choose the UV, when they checked them for their response to opiates, they were kind of paradoxical responders to opiates, so they don't really get that like happy feeling from sunshine. So maybe all these people were from Seattle or something. I don't know when they ever feel happy, but you know, I followed up on that asking Bill, hey man, so you know, all of the literature surrounding tanning beds seems to paint it in a pretty poor light. Like it's like, oh, increased melanoma risk, increased melanoma risk. None of these things though ask a question. I have never found a study that looked at how long are people in the tanning bed. It's always just kind of like, do you do it or do you not do it? And for the vast majority of people, when they do tanning, it's like trying to be a leather handbag. Like they really fucking go for bear on that. And so, you know, is there a case for doing a 1 minute exposure, a 2 minute exposure, which it is definitely far more intense than the light that we get from the sun. But Bill's thought on this was interesting. And again, you know, not medical advice. This is, you know, we're just trying to figure out what the story is with this stuff. But he made the case that there's slowly a backpedaling within the dermatology scene that being out in the sun is safe. Like they're slowly starting to backpedal on that because it's so crystal clear that circadian biology is critical to everything else we have going on. And it's just impossible to like have good blood glucose status and to sleep normally and to have good body composition if you don't have good circadian biology. And part of good circadian biology is getting some sun on your skin, so some sort of light on your skin. So he thinks that that's going to kind of backpedal from the sun exposure. And then he agreed that he would be hard pressed to imagine that there wasn't there shouldn't be a protocol for like a very brief, you know, like 1 minute exposure, and you do that 3 times a week for 1 week, and then maybe a 2-minute exposure, and maybe you cap it off at like 3-4 minutes. Like you're not necessarily using it specifically as a tanning implementation, but as a means of producing vitamin D, which can happen very quickly under those circumstances, and just kind of circadian entrainment. So, and there are some, so the happy lights, like the seasonal affective disorder lights, can help with circadian entrainment, but that does not produce vitamin D. But there are like some desk mounted units that you can, I found it on Amazon that same day that I read Bill's paper, that you can kind of like get some UV exposure to your chest. You still have to wear the goggles, but you can kind of move it around to get some kind of point UV exposure.
Could you make the case, you know, she's working on implementing more positive life-changing choices, and although getting out in the morning and when it's freezing in Connecticut, and just having the daylight, you know, in her eyes, even if she's bundled up with a scarf and a jacket, if she sits out there with her coffee for like, you know, just to get that, might not produce vitamin D, but at least it's helping.
It's helping on circadian entrainment for sure. Okay. Yeah. Because it's still, even on an overcast day, it is generally far, far brighter outside than anything we experience inside. Yeah.
So even if you live in a super cold climate, like as much as you can, spend some time outside instead of just like staying bundled indoors the whole time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.